In the quiet town of Nsukka, there lived two brothers, Godfrey and Geoffrey. Their bond wasn't just one of shared blood, it was one of shared hearts. Godfrey and Geoffrey were more than siblings. Their connection ran deeper than mere family ties, rooted in a profound emotional unity that made them inseparable. From a young age, they became each other's anchor, leaning on one another for comfort, strength, and companionship. Having lost their parents at a tender age, Godfrey and Geoffrey were thrust into a world of challenges they had to face side by side. Their shared struggles forged an unshakable bond, built on trust, loyalty, and a deep understanding that only grew stronger as the years passed. At their core, Godfrey and Geoffrey were brothers in every way that mattered, bound not just by blood, but by an unshakable connection of the heart. United in vision and determination, they established a flourishing car spare parts business. Their success was not merely a result of hard work, but a testament to the profound love, respect, and harmony that defined their partnership. Godfrey and Geoffrey were inseparable, standing by each other through every twist and turn of life. They supported one another not just in their thriving business, but also in their personal journeys. Even after marriage, their bond remained as steadfast as it had been since the day they were born. Driven by this unyielding closeness, they made a bold and unexpected decision. Rather than settling into separate homes, Godfrey and Geoffrey chose to construct a grand house where both families could live under one roof. This way, they could preserve their cherished closeness while fostering a sense of unity among their families. As a result, their vision came to life. Susan, Godfrey's wife, and Rebecca, Geoffrey's wife, grew to share a friendship as deep and genuine as the bond between their husbands, united by the shared joy of being one big, harmonious family. Life in the spacious family home was filled with joy and energy. Godfrey's children, Angela and Collins, along with Geoffrey's son Joshua, formed an inseparable trio, bound by their shared adventures, studies, and chores. But it was Angela and Joshua who shared an extraordinary bond. Born just weeks apart, the two were often mistaken for twins. Wherever one went, the other was never far behind. Their connection ran deep. Whether it was books, homework, or a simple chat, they did everything together. When Joshua faced a challenge, Angela was there to guide him, and when Angela felt down, Joshua's presence was enough to lift her spirits. Their friendship was unbreakable, a connection that everyone around them admired. It was more than just the bond of cousins or siblings, they were true best friends. As they transitioned into their teenage years, things began to shift. Angela blossomed into a beautiful young woman, her charm and confidence growing with each day. Joshua, too, started to embrace the changes of adolescence, his masculinity becoming more evident. Yet, despite these shifts, their bond remained as pure and unwavering as it had always been. One evening, as Godfrey and Susan shared a quiet conversation in their room, their soft laughter drifted through the house, catching Angela's attention from the next room. Intrigued, she listened closely. Every night she heard the same giggles, followed by unfamiliar sounds. Her curiosity grew, and she couldn't help but wonder what was really going on behind that closed door. On that particular night, Angela quietly got up and tiptoed to her parents' room. She slowly opened the door, just enough to see the other side of the bedroom. Behold her very eyes, she saw her parents doing something strange to each other on the bed. The sight was totally strange and surprising to her. Her parents were doing something she had never seen before. The sight was bewildering, but the sounds emanating from the room were even more perplexing. Angela had never encountered anything like it, neither in her experiences nor in her imagination. Confusion and curiosity swirled within her as her teenage mind raced to make sense of the strange noises coming from her parents' bedroom. What could they possibly be doing? By the following day, Angela's mind was flooded with questions, unable to shake the image of what she had witnessed the night before. Though she didn't fully understand it, her curiosity gnawed at her, pulling her in different directions. She knew what she had seen was deeply personal, and a hint of embarrassment lingered, but that didn't quench her need to know more. She was determined to uncover the mystery of what her parents had been doing. The next day, Angela couldn't shake the image of what she had witnessed the night before. Her mind raced with questions, so she decided to confide in her closest friend, Joshua. "Joshua," she began, "I saw something last night that was really strange. Something I just can't figure out." Joshua, intrigued by her tone, listened intently as Angela carefully described the scene, trying to make sense of the mysterious sight and the unusual position of her parents on the bed. "Oh, that's just adult stuff," Joshua responded nonchalantly. Angela's eyes widened in shock. "Wait, really? Adult stuff? You already know about this?" she asked, her voice filled with surprise. Joshua gave a small nod. "Yeah, Angela," he said matter-of-factly. "I've seen my parents do it too, and I've come across it on the internet." Angela's curiosity deepened, her eyes growing even wider as she tried to process what Joshua had just revealed. "Show me," Angela urged, her curiosity pushing her forward, but Joshua hesitated, looking unsure. "I don't know, Angela. It's adult stuff," he replied. Angela, however, wasn't deterred. "But you've seen it before. Why can't I? We're the same age," she insisted. Her relentless curiosity wouldn't let her rest. She kept pressing Joshua to show her what he had seen on his phone, unable to shake the images from her mind. Yet, Joshua remained reluctant, still not willing to share what he considered off-limits. One afternoon when their parents were out, Angela made her way to Joshua's room. "Joshua, no one's home," she said, her voice eager. "You have to show me what you saw on your phone. I can't stop thinking about it." Joshua hesitated, unsure. "I don't think it's a good idea, Angela," he replied, his voice cautious. "When I watched it, I felt these strange, unexplainable feelings all over my body. I really think we shouldn't watch it." But Angela refused to back down. The curiosity that had been sparked by what she had seen the previous night consumed her. She felt as though she had already stepped into forbidden territory, and now she needed to understand more, even if it meant risking trouble. After a few moments of back and forth, Joshua reluctantly gave in. He pulled out his phone and reluctantly played the video for her. The images that appeared were unsettling and left both of them feeling uncomfortable. At first, both of them sat in uncomfortable silence, watching the video. The scenes were strange and unfamiliar, and the sounds coming from the screen were equally bizarre. Yet, despite the unease that gnawed at them, they couldn't tear their eyes away. As the minutes passed, an undeniable shift began to take place. Their innocence, once unspoiled and pure, slowly started to unravel. What they were witnessing, a world they were never meant to see, was leaving a deep, unsettling mark on them both. The video was altering the way they viewed the world and each other. It was opening the door to an entirely new realm, one they never knew existed. As they watched, an unsettling realization dawned on them. Everything was about to change, and they could never go back to the way things were. When Mrs. Rebecca, Joshua's mother, returned home, she called out for him. "Joshua, have you washed the dishes I asked you to?" she asked. "Yes, Mommy," he replied. Both Joshua and Angela froze, startled by the sudden presence of an adult voice in the house. In a hurry, Joshua quietly ushered Angela out through the back door. As they slipped away, an uncomfortable feeling settled over them. They both knew something was off about what they had just been doing. Angela especially had never had to sneak around in their house before. For the next few days, Joshua and Angela found themselves sneaking into a room, locking the door behind them to watch the strange videos they had become increasingly drawn to. What started as a shared secret slowly began to alter the dynamic between them. The once carefree laughter and playful games that echoed around the compound gradually faded, replaced by an unsettling quiet. Something had shifted between them, and the air around them felt different. As they watched the video, Angela and Joshua started to feel a strange pull towards each other. It wasn't the same innocent feeling they had as cousins. This was something deeper and more intense. The feeling was unfamiliar and a little scary. It was like the kind of attraction that grown-ups feel when they're in love. But Angela and Joshua were just kids, and they didn't know how to process these new emotions. They felt lost and overwhelmed, trapped in a whirlwind of emotions they didn't understand. Unable to confide in anyone, they kept their growing confusion and the secret of the video buried deep inside. Talking to their parents or friends seemed impossible, and so they silently carried the weight of their unspoken feelings, hiding their true selves from the world around them. Joshua, feeling a mix of guilt and confusion, began to pull away from the secret game they had been playing. His shift in behavior didn't go unnoticed by their parents, but they dismissed it, thinking it was just a phase. One day, as they walked home from school, Angela couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She turned to Joshua, her concern evident. "Are you avoiding me?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Joshua hesitated, then softly replied, "No, Angela, I'm not avoiding you. I'm just confused about what I'm feeling." Angela, her curiosity piqued, pressed further. "Confused? What do you mean by that?" Joshua took a long, uneasy breath before responding. "Ever since we watched that video together, my mind has been filled with confusing thoughts about you." Angela, now more intrigued than ever, asked, "What kind of thoughts?" He paused, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't stop thinking about doing what we saw in that video with you, but it feels wrong, and I'm not sure if it's something we should do." Angela's eyes widened, the weight of his words settling over her. After a moment of silence, she nodded, her expression a mixture of surprise and reluctant understanding. Angela admitted softly, "I've been having the same thoughts. I want to explore this with you, but it feels so wrong." The weight of their emotions hung in the air as they stood frozen, uncertain about their next move, but fully aware that their relationship had shifted in a way they couldn't ignore. Over the next few months, Angela found herself drawn to Joshua's room, unable to resist sneaking in to watch the video again. Occasionally, they would experiment with what they had seen, letting their curiosity guide them. Yet they never crossed the invisible line, content to explore through tender touches and lingering caresses. Their secretive behavior didn't go unnoticed. Joshua's mother grew increasingly suspicious of their frequent closed-door encounters. Concerned, she confided in her close friend Rebecca, seeking advice on how to handle the situation. One evening, Joshua's mom leaned in closer to Rebecca and said, "I've been meaning to talk to you about the kids. Have you noticed anything unusual about how Angela and Joshua have been acting lately?" Rebecca raised an eyebrow, her tone casual. "Not really. They seem like they're just playing in his room, same as always." But Joshua's mom wasn't convinced. "Don't be so quick to dismiss it," she said, her voice tinged with concern. "They're growing up so fast, and with all the changes they're going through, who knows what might be on their minds? We need to keep a closer eye on them." Rebecca's expression shifted, a flicker of worry crossing her face. The two women exchanged a knowing look and agreed. Keeping a watchful eye on Angela and Joshua was now a priority. One quiet afternoon, the house felt unusually still. The fathers were at work and the mothers were out at the market. Seizing the opportunity, Angela tiptoed into Joshua's room to resume the movie they had started earlier. As the scenes unfolded on the screen, Joshua turned to Angela, his voice low but charged with anticipation. "What if we tried what they're doing?" he suggested. Angela's heart pounded, a mix of excitement and nervousness surging through her. This was the moment she'd been secretly waiting for, and without hesitation she nodded in eager agreement. What Angela and Joshua didn't realize was that their mothers, Rebecca and Susan, had returned from the market earlier than expected. The two women, fueled by growing suspicions about their children's recent behavior, had resolved to keep a closer watch. Unaware they were being observed, Angela and Joshua let their curiosity lead them further. Clothes were discarded, and they edged dangerously close to crossing a line they couldn't undo. Just as they were about to give in to temptation, the bedroom door burst open with a thunderous crash. Rebecca and Susan stormed in, their faces etched with a mix of fury and disbelief. "What on earth is going on here?" they shouted, their voices cutting through the tension like a blade. Angela and Joshua froze, paralyzed by the sheer shock of being caught. Sitting on the bed, exposed and mortified, they realized their secret was no longer theirs to keep. The room felt impossibly silent, save for the weight of consequences looming over them. "What is going on here?" Susan, Angela's mother, demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of shock and terror etched across her face. "You two are cousins. This is forbidden." Her gaze darted between them as she struggled to process the scene before her. "You're far too young to even think about indulging in something like this," she added, her tone firm but laced with disbelief. Mrs. Rebecca stood frozen in place, her shock rendering her momentarily speechless. When she finally found her voice, it came out sharp and tinged with bewilderment. "Where on earth did you learn something like this?" she asked, her piercing gaze demanding answers. "Who taught you this?" she pressed, her words hanging heavily in the air. Angela and Joshua sat on the edge of the bed, their heads hanging low under the weight of guilt and shame. For months they had been sneaking around, crossing lines they should have never approached. But now, under the piercing gaze of their mothers, the gravity of their actions hit them like a tidal wave. As their eyes met, a painful clarity washed over them. They had been wrong all along, wrong in ways they could no longer ignore, wrong in ways that left them feeling exposed and deeply ashamed. Embarrassment burned through them, leaving their once hidden secret a glaring mistake they could never take back. Their mothers instructed Angela and Joshua to get dressed, and together they moved to the living room. As the tension settled, Rebecca and Susan exchanged uneasy glances, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. It dawned on them that the children's curiosity, their urge to explore the forbidden, stemmed from their own carelessness. They hadn't been discreet enough in their home, forgetting that young, impressionable minds were always watching and listening. Mrs. Rebecca turned to Angela and Joshua, her face a mask of seriousness. Her voice was firm but calm as she said, "I don't know what you've seen or overheard, but this stops here. You must never do something like this again. Ever." Her words hung in the air, heavy with both warning and resolve. Joshua's mom, Rebecca, stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with a stern edge. "Your family," she said, her eyes locking onto the children. "Family doesn't cross the boundaries you are about to cross. It's not right, and it's certainly not safe." The two women exchanged a glance, gathering their composure before continuing. Taking a deep breath, Susan added, "There's a time and place for everything, and this isn't it. You're still so young with your whole lives ahead of you. Be patient. There's so much more waiting for you when the time is right." Their words, firm yet laced with care, hung in the air like a lifeline, hoping to steer the children back onto the right path. Angela and Joshua stared down at the floor, their faces flushed with shame and embarrassment. The weight of their actions was undeniable, and the regret in their eyes was impossible to miss. Seeing their children's remorse, their mother's stern expressions softened. Rebecca spoke gently, her voice tinged with both guilt and resolve. "We're sorry for failing to shield you better," she admitted. "We should have been more mindful of what you were exposed to, more careful about the environment we created. But we're here now, and we promise to do better, to guide you and help you understand the right path." That evening, when Mr. Godfrey returned home from work, his wife sat him down with a serious look on her face. She carefully explained everything that had transpired with Angela and Joshua, and as the words sank in, his shock was palpable. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. A wave of disbelief washed over him, followed by a deep sense of failure. As a parent, he felt powerless, unable to fully grasp how this had happened, or how to even begin processing the flood of emotions swirling inside him. After a long conversation, Mr. Godfrey and his wife came to a decision. They needed to make a change for the sake of their family. They agreed that moving out of the compound was the best option, but they were determined not to let it strain their relationship with his brother and his family. So, they devised a thoughtful plan that would preserve family unity while also giving their children the space they needed for a fresh start. Mr. Godfrey would continue to work alongside his brother, but the family would establish a separate home, offering both distance and a chance for a new beginning. Did you learn anything from this story? Let me know in the comments section. Tell me everything you learned from this story. Please leave your answers and join the conversation below in the comments section. If you enjoyed watching and listening to this story, then click on that like button and subscribe to this channel now so that you can see more of my interesting stories and folk tales. Thank you so much for watching this video to this very end. Click on any of the video links above to watch more of my interesting stories on this channel.